The Vanishing of Flight 914, a 37-year mystery through time. Nothing captures our imagination quite like the unexplained. In the vast catalog of aviation mysteries, one stands apart not for the disappearance of an aircraft, but for its alleged reappearance, decades later, with passengers and crew seemingly unaged and unaware that nearly 4 decades had passed. This is the strange tale of Pan Am Flight 914, a DC-4 aircraft that supposedly took off in 1955 and landed in 1992, creating one of aviation's most persistent urban legends. On a clear morning of July 2nd, 1955, Pan American Airways Flight 914 prepared for takeoff from New York's Idlewild Airport, now known as JFK International. Its destination was Miami, Florida, a routine domestic flight carrying 57 passengers and 4 crew members. The flight was scheduled to arrive in Miami approximately 2 hours later. The DC-4 was a reliable workhorse of post-war aviation with 4 propeller engines and a solid safety record. Weather conditions were favorable, and nothing suggested this would be anything but an ordinary journey. According to the legend, Flight 914 taxied down the runway, lifted off into the clear blue sky, and then simply vanished. No distress call was received. No wreckage was ever found. The flight had seemingly disappeared into thin air, joining other famous aviation mysteries like Amelia Earhart's final flight or the disappearance of Flight 19 in the Bermuda Triangle. Search and rescue operations yielded nothing, and eventually the passengers and crew were presumed dead, victims of an unexplained aviation disaster. Fast forward to March 9, 1992. 37 years later, the setting shifts to Caracas, Venezuela, where air traffic controller Juan de la Corte was allegedly on duty when an unidentified aircraft appeared on radar. The plane wasn't responding to standard communication protocols, and as it approached, de la Corte was astonished to see an antiquated DC-4 with Pan American Airways markings, an airline that had ceased operations the previous December after declaring bankruptcy. When radio contact was finally established, the story takes its most bizarre turn. The pilot, allegedly confused by being directed to land in Caracas, identified himself as the captain of Pan Am Flight 914 en route from New York to Miami. When informed that he was in Venezuela in the year 1992, the pilot reportedly responded with panic and disbelief. According to the tale, as the plane taxied after landing, ground crew noticed the passengers looking out the windows with expressions of shock and confusion. Before Venezuelan authorities could interview anyone aboard, the captain allegedly revved the engines and took off again in a hurry, leaving behind only a single artifact, a calendar from 1955. It's a captivating story that has all the elements of a perfect mystery: time travel, confused witnesses, and a tantalizing piece of evidence. But is there any truth to it? Let's examine what we know and don't know about this alleged incident. The first major red flag is the source of the story. The tale of Flight 914 first appeared in a 1985 issue of the Weekly World News, a tabloid notorious for fabricating sensational stories. The publication was known for outlandish headlines about alien abductions, Bigfoot sightings, and other fantastical claims. In fact, the same publication that brought us Bat Child Found in Cave and Elvis Spotted on the Moon was the original source for this time-traveling aircraft tale. What's particularly telling is that the original Weekly World News story was published in 1985, but the alleged reappearance of the aircraft was said to have occurred in 1992, 7 years after the story was first printed. This chronological impossibility alone should be enough to dismiss the tale as fiction. The story was later republished in 1992 editions of the tabloid, further cementing its place in urban legend. If we look beyond the tabloid origins, there are numerous factual inconsistencies that further debunk the story. Pan American Airways has no record of a Flight 914 disappearing in 1955. The flight number itself doesn't match Pan Am's numbering system from that era. No aviation authorities, not the Federal Aviation Administration, the National Transportation Safety Board, or their international counterparts, have any documentation of this incident. The alleged landing in Caracas in 1992 is similarly undocumented in official aviation records. No air traffic controller named Juan de la Corte has ever come forward or been identified. Venezuelan authorities have no record of such an unusual landing, which would certainly have generated significant official documentation and international attention. Furthermore, if a commercial airliner with 61 people aboard had genuinely disappeared and then reappeared 37 years later, it would have been one of the most significant news stories of the century. Major news networks worldwide would have covered it extensively. Families of the passengers would have come forward. Scientific institutions would have investigated the phenomenon. None of this happened because the event itself never occurred. But why does this story persist? What makes it so compelling that it continues to circulate decades after its tabloid creation? The answer lies in our fascination with the unexplained and our deep-seated fears about air travel. Aviation mysteries tap into primal anxieties. When we board an aircraft, we surrender control, placing our lives in the hands of technology and the professionals operating it. The idea that a plane could not only disappear, but somehow slip through the fabric of time speaks to our unease about the vulnerability of human existence and the mysteries of the universe that remain beyond our comprehension. The story of Flight 914 also resonates because it offers a tantalizing what-if scenario. What if time isn't as linear as we believe? What if parallel dimensions exist where time flows differently? These questions have been explored extensively in science fiction, from The Twilight Zone to Lost, and they continue to captivate our imagination. The human mind is naturally drawn to pattern-seeking and storytelling. When faced with the unknown, we often prefer an extraordinary explanation over admitting that we simply don't know. This cognitive bias, combined with our love of a good mystery, creates fertile ground for urban legends like Flight 914 to take root and flourish. It's worth noting that there have been genuine aviation mysteries that remain unsolved. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, which disappeared in 2014 with 239 people aboard, remains largely unexplained, despite extensive searching and investigation. The disappearance of Amelia Earhart in 1937 continues to generate new theories and expeditions. These real mysteries remind us that even in our age of advanced technology and global connectivity, the world still holds secrets. But Flight 914 isn't one of those genuine mysteries. It's a fabrication that has taken on a life of its own in the internet age. As the story spread from tabloid pages to online forums and social media, it gained new details and variations. Some versions claim the aircraft disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle. Others suggest alien involvement. These embellishments further distance the tale from its fictional origins, lending it an undeserved air of authenticity. The persistence of this urban legend also speaks to changing media literacy over time. In the pre-internet era, most people understood that tabloids like Weekly World News published fiction masquerading as news for entertainment purposes. Today, as these stories circulate online, stripped of their original context, they're often presented as factual accounts of unexplained phenomena. If we were to entertain the notion of time slips or temporal anomalies for a moment, what would science say about the possibility? Theoretical physics does allow for some mind-bending possibilities regarding time. Einstein's theory of relativity shows that time is not absolute. It can dilate or contract depending on velocity and gravitational forces. The famous twin paradox demonstrates how time can pass differently for two observers, with one aging less than the other due to relativistic effects. However, these effects become significant only at speeds approaching that of light or in extremely strong gravitational fields, conditions far beyond what a commercial airliner would ever experience. More exotic theoretical concepts like wormholes might potentially allow for time travel, but these remain firmly in the realm of theoretical physics, with no experimental evidence supporting their existence in a form that could transport a commercial aircraft. Some paranormal enthusiasts have suggested the Flight 914 incident might be an example of a time slip, a hypothetical phenomenon where people temporarily experience a different time period. Anecdotal accounts of time slips typically involve individuals reporting brief experiences of seemingly being in the past, not entire aircraft with dozens of passengers disappearing for decades and returning unaged. If we were to apply Occam's razor, the principle that the simplest explanation is usually the correct one, conclusion is clear. Flight 914's time-traveling adventure never happened. It was a fictional story created by tabloid writers that has been mistakenly accepted as fact by some and deliberately promoted as truth by others, seeking to capitalize on our fascination with the unexplained. Yet despite its fictional nature, the story of Flight 914 continues to captivate. It appears regularly in compilations of unsolved mysteries and generates millions of views on YouTube videos, claiming to reveal the truth behind the incident. This persistence speaks to our enduring fascination with the unknown and our desire for wonder in an increasingly explained world. In many ways, urban legends like Flight 914 serve a similar cultural purpose as folklore and mythology did for earlier generations. They provide narratives that help us process our fears, explore impossible scenarios, and contemplate the mysteries of existence. The fact that these stories are not true doesn't diminish their power as cultural artifacts that reveal something about our collective psyche. As we continue to explore the boundaries of physics and our understanding of time, genuine mysteries about the nature of our universe remain. Quantum mechanics presents puzzles about the fundamental nature of reality that continue to baffle even the most brilliant physicists. Dark matter and dark energy constitute most of our universe, yet we understand very little about them. The possibility of multiple dimensions beyond the three spatial dimensions we experience remains an active area of theoretical research. These real scientific frontiers are in many ways more fascinating than fictional tales of time-traveling aircraft. They remind us that the universe is stranger and more wonderful than we can imagine, and that genuine mysteries worthy of our curiosity and investigation surround us. So while Pan Am Flight 914 never disappeared in 1955 and never reappeared in 1992, the persistence of this urban legend tells us something important about human nature: our need for mystery, our fascination with the unexplained, and our desire to believe that the world is more magical and unpredictable than our everyday experience suggests. Perhaps that's why, despite all evidence to the contrary, some will continue to believe in the time-traveling journey of Flight 914. In a world where so much has been explained, cataloged, and demystified, there's something appealing about the possibility that extraordinary, inexplicable events might still occur, that the fabric of reality might occasionally tear, allowing a glimpse into the unknown. The next time you hear about Flight 914 or similar tales of the unexplained, approach them with healthy skepticism, but also with an appreciation for the human imagination that creates and perpetuates these modern myths. After all, while Flight 914 never broke the barriers of time, the story itself has certainly demonstrated remarkable staying power, traveling through decades of human consciousness and continuing to inspire wonder, debate, and speculation about what might be possible in our vast and mysterious universe.